All right, guys, I'm back here with another quick little tutorial for you. I'm going to show you how to set up your project. So I can just go right to new project, and I want to make sure that this is inches. I want to set it to, I'm going to set the width to this to 11 inches and the height to 8.5. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and I can use like white, black, or transparent, or I can have a custom background. I'll just go ahead with transparent, hit create. And there's the start of my new project. I'm going to call this, actually, let's go ahead and file, save as. I'm going to rename this new project my catfish. Okay, so we have catfish PSD. And I'm gonna then go and get my image. So I have this from Raw Pixel. See how big it is, how it fits into the space. That's all good. So this is the base that I'm starting with, this really cool beta fish. And I pulled up a couple of different cats and even a red panda to just kind of try to see what it might look like to replace this face. So let's do that now. So I'm going to go ahead and say file, open, and place. And I'm going to go grab one of these guys. The kitten was the first one I started with. I'll try that first. All right, so this guy clearly is going to have to be rotated around. And what I can do to do some kind of non-destructive editing maybe is to just copy him. Maybe because this is a smart object, I need to rasterize it. I'll rasterize this one while I'm at it so that I can do stuff with it later. So let's try this again. Control C, Control V. There we are. So I can just take this guy and actually just hide him behind my background. Now I can just go ahead and let's see here. Okay, so Control Alt T gives me the transform tools in Photopea. I can go ahead and rotate my little kitty head. And let's go ahead and make the opacity on this layer a little bit lower so we can kind of see how it looks in relation to the fish. Okay. So anytime we use transform, we are destructively editing, but we have the original back here. So we know, that if we need to go back to the original, we can. So let's take our image and kind of put him over here. This head is going to be way too big for this fish. So I'm going to want to shrink it. Then to kind of take another look, see how that looks. That looks like it might work. Okay, cool. Now let's go ahead and kind of increase the opacity again, just kind of a little bit more. Maybe I want to rotate this just a touch, right? So that kind of the backside there kind of lines up. All right, let's go ahead and take this opacity back to full. And so now I can like use the lasso tool in here. So let's just zoom in a touch. I'm hitting the space bar to kind of bring that back. I'm gonna Alt click. And now I can probably just use this guy. I want to do that. Yeah, I don't think there's enough contrast here for a to do object selection. So I'm going to use like the polygonal lasso. I'm going to use this one so that I can just kind of basically outline the head. Yeah, I'll just do this for now. And if I'm ever like kind of not exactly sure where this ends, I can always just double click and it'll automatically make those ends meet. Now I can use this to just go ahead and there's my mask. So you can see I've got a little white thumbnail here and the mask. And then I can kind of get in there and sort of like play around with it. I know that I'm going to do some like adjustment layers. So I'm going to hit the Alt key and kind of zoom out a little bit just to kind of get an overall feel of what this image looks like. And that actually, the lighting works out pretty well. I wasn't sure that it would. But let's go ahead and maybe just play around with this a little bit. I'm going to do some masking. Where's my brush? B for brush. Make sure that D for making it black and white. X to do that. I'm going to make my brush softer. So I'm going to take this 24 pixel softer brush. And if I need to make it bigger, I can. So you can see here I'm like eliminating some of those pixels. If I need to, I can also, oops, if I hit Control Z, it's going to get rid of all that. So it's not a bad idea for you to just kind of like do a little bit at a time. So like this. And like I said, I like to use the fuzzy brush to kind of help with blending the edges. I'm probably going to use the clone tool to kind of like help with the texturing here. I can also, if I ever want to just kind of lower the opacity on something, I can change that black over here to gray and I'll make it a slightly lower opacity. This is just a really kind of quick thing here. I'm holding down the shift key and it'll make a straight line for my eraser there. So I can then turn around and make some of these white and bring it back in. But I want to kind of, I'm thinking about going ahead and getting rid of the whiskers. And then maybe like it can find a catfish. I'm going to hit X to bring some of these pixels back. Right? X again to kind of get rid of some of these pixels. And that's the process of refining your edge so that you can just kind of like make it fuzzy, make it, a little bit different here. Okay. I'm going to create a new layer and I'm going to use the clone tool because I don't like this thing right behind his ear. So let's go to S for stamp. I'm going to try using the clone tool. And again, my brush is kind of is solid. So I'm going to make this fuzzy so that maybe, just maybe, I can kind of retain some of that. Oh, is that the ear? Oh, that's right. I need to make sure that I'm in current and below before I start cloning. This way I can non-destructively clone. And so I'll take like this. So I'm right now I have the Alt key. I'm going to click once and then I can start. See how I've got pixels there that I can paste over? And since the ear is in front, I don't have to worry too much about going beyond that space. I'll probably want to do kind of the same sort of thing, only in front of the cat. Maybe. Let's try that. I'm going to get a new layer. I'm going to use the clone tool. I'm going to say, hey, I want this. Again, my source is current and below. So I can like kind of do some of this stuff, right? And what's kind of nice about this is since it's on a separate layer, I can maybe lower its opacity or use a blend mode to kind of work with that. So see how like we've got that. I can even like mask this mode as well. So let's play around with the opacity on this. So see, I can like get this so it's looking like it's got a little more behind it, right? A little fur there back there. Oops. I got a little bit of the ear in there, so just let me resource that. There we are, right? And then maybe just kind of a little there. So a little fur, a little fin, little bit of this. We can also just make another layer, right? And I can say Alt back here, maybe some of these guys, and just kind of bring in to just kind of create a sort of a blend. Look at that. Not terrible. All right. And if anything, I can just go ahead and say, I think that maybe I want to um, kind of play around with that. So like here I can go ahead and I'm going to make an adjustment layer. We haven't talked about adjustment layers. And so now I can make an adjustment layer. I probably want to get rid of that. I probably want to get rid of that too. Oopsie. That's a mask issue. So B brush, make sure that this mask is taken care of. Where's this line coming from? Yep, okay, it's got to be from here. Oh, I see what I did. Control Z that. Make sure I'm on the right layer to mask this out. There we go. I need to be on the mask layer in order to paint the mask layer away. That's an easy mistake to make. So it's probably something that you'll want to fix. So I can take these two guys, since this is like that there. I can take these two guys. So I hold the shift key down. I've got those two layers. I'm going to hit the folder icon. So let's see if this works. There's a couple of different ways you can go about doing things like this. I'm going to put an adjustment layer on the cat itself. So we'll just make a new adjustment layer. And maybe we want to play around with the hue or saturation. Okay. So hue saturation at this point is going to get everything on the screen. I might be able to basically make a clipping mask. Yep. So see this little arrow? That's a clipping mask. It's saying I'm taking the source from the folder down below, and I'm going to use that as my adjustment. So let's go ahead and put the layer back. All right. I'm going to use hue and adjustment. So if I double click on this guy right here, there's my hue and saturation. So I can play around with colorizing this guy, maybe making him a little less light, right? I was thinking the white might be really good for colorizing, but maybe I need to make it more gray or something like that. Let's just take a look. I'll use my space bar again to move the canvas over. It's not quite what I'm looking for. So let's see. Enable versus, okay. But you can see that it's like kind of got all of these guys, those two layers selected. So let's try to maybe make this more blue. Okay, saturation. That's like super blue. Super blue. I don't want to have that saturated. Lights. Maybe colorize. That's got red. I want play around with this. Like I said, you play around with this till you get what the color you want, you're looking for. I think that's probably not terrible. I think actually, ooh, sample hue. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, I know it's not, okay. All right, cool. All right. So let's say that I kind of go with this color, right? And let's go ahead and put the properties back in. There we go. And another nice thing about this is I can still mask this. So I can use the brush again to just kind of like bring his eyes back out as their color, right? So if need be, I can just zoom in with the Alt key, get in there really close so I can see kind of what that looks like. So I can bring out the color of his eyes again. Space bar to kind of just move the canvas over. And mind you, I'm just using a mouse just like you guys, right? I'm not using a Wacom tablet or anything else like that. And I can maybe like, yeah, actually, it's not terrible. Oops. Um, it's a little bit off. Uh, let's see if we put this into a folder. Maybe, let's layer two. Layer two that. Okay. Maybe we can use the transform tools and bring that down just a touch. Maybe because I think his head's a little big. Um, looking at him, right? Okay, then let's just use the arrow keys to move him up, back into place. That's a little bit better, I think. And so you can see like I've done most of this pretty non-destructively. The only other thing that I would want to do is, oh, shoot. This back, where is this from? This weird coloring from? Probably from my adjustment layer. Probably need to have some get in here with the mask and remove that stuff. So you can see I have a folder inside of a folder. This has some masking on it. So let's go ahead and get back to our brush. And I'm just going to make a super huge brush, bigger, bigger, bigger. So I'm going to use the brackets to make a very big brush. And see if that's part of that. Nope, it is not. Okay, that's all right though. But you can see like in the little thumbnail here that I've cleared out this brush. Um, so that's not where that is coming from. Let's see if it's coming from where that might be coming from. That's that. Layer 3, what's layer 3? That's just that. Okay. Um, is it from here? Nope. Is it from, it's probably just from that black background, which I thought was a pure solid. So let's do this. I'm going to turn off this eyeball, turn off this eyeball, turn off this eyeball. Okay, it must be from our background, our original background from this fish. Okay, if I don't like that, I can get in there again. I can just new layer, and with the stamp again, I can make that bigger also. Bigger, 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 bigger. Right? I can resample. Right? That's going to get rid of some of that. Resample some of that. And there you go. So we can see that this is definitely working on that. So that's okay. That's cool. All right. So now that I've got that, put my stuff back so I can see it again, right? I'm probably going to want to go ahead and get rid of some of that from the backside of the cat. So let's go ahead and hit Alt again. I think maybe I want to get rid of some of this stuff back here. And maybe, should I get rid of this? I think so, maybe. And if I make new artifacts, I can always just resample, right? And get rid of stuff that way. Cool. All right. So now that's got that pretty well done. Stamp, Alt. I'm just going to clean up some of this stuff back here. Whoa. And I'm going to make sure that I save this. So Control S should save. R. Okay. So, in a very short amount of time, I managed to get something done pretty good. If need be, I can then turn around and say, hey, I need to put this in an environment. Again, I can do something like Shift and click. See how I have all of my layers selected? I can then turn around and put this in another folder. That way this is going to be, so you can see that's all kind of grouped together. Actually, Alt, zoomy. So here's my catfish, the beta fish. Kind of cool looking. And I almost want to put another fin over here, but that'll be for another subject. But here you can see adjustment layers. There are all kinds of adjustment layers. Let me go ahead and make a new adjustment layer just so you can see them all. So there's all of these different things here: gradient fill, color fill, pattern fill, brightness, contrast. If I wanted to change the contrast of this item, I could do that. Levels, curves, exposure, all of these are non-destructive. We saw the hue saturation example already. Color balance, we can make things black and white. Look at this. And that's it. Here I have a black and white version. Here I have a color version. Black and white, color. So that's, how adjustment layers work. And that's one of the things I wanted to show you is how to make adjustment layers and how to do non-destructive colorization and just get in there, play around, fiddle around with this sort of stuff. If need be, I can, if I want to, I can zoom in to make him some whiskers. I could use the paintbrush to make him some whiskers on an upper layer or something like that. But I think it's not terrible. I keep saying that. I think he's pretty good. For a half hour's worth of work. So that should. Next thing would be maybe to put him in a fishbowl, like a betta fish should be, or some other kind of aquarium tank. All right. That's all I have for you guys today. Happy rendering, everyone.